Don't shoot the messenger. That's what happens here.
Yeah.
Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. For today, I'm going to be talking all about SDSU's Greek life, all the juicy information that you want to know that most people don't really tell you, and you probably won't know unless you've been in Greek life at SDSU. I wish I would have seen a video like this when I went into it. Not that I'm going to be talking anything bad about it or throwing any shade or anything like that. I loved my experience. I would do it all over again, but this is information that I feel like most people don't want to be upfront about, especially if you're rushing. Just a little background info: I was in Pi Phi at SDSU my freshman and sophomore year, and then I dropped, and I'm going to be a senior. So it's been about a year since I've been in, but I still feel like a lot of people are going to want to know this information. So I'm basically just going to be talking about like frats, parties, ranking, which I'm sure a lot of people are here for, and then just some general questions. I did make a video strictly about rushing, which is why I'm not really going to be talking about it much. I'll answer a couple questions about it, but if you're looking on like what to talk about, what not to talk about, what to wear, I'll link that video down below. That video is about all of that good stuff about rushing, but for the most part, this video is going to be about the more fun stuff you experience once you're actually in a sorority. I'll also have timestamps down below in case you don't want to sit through everything. I got you. I understand. If you just want to know like the ranking, just find the timestamp down below. To start off, I'm going to be answering a couple of questions after I posted. Oh dear God. But to start off, I am going to be going over a couple of questions. After I post my rushing video, I got a lot of DMs on Instagram, and then I just want to go over some of the comments on that video too, because a lot of them are pretty similar. The first one, actually let me pull it up, is about like transfers rushing as a sophomore or junior, like if you leave and get in, if it's worth it. As a whole, I definitely think rushing is worth it. I think Greek life is worth it. It's a lot of fun. It's a great way to meet people. I met best friends from it. So in that sense, yes, I think it's worth it. I think you should rush. For like sophomores and juniors rushing, if it's harder to get into a house you like, from my experience rushing girls and like going through that process, and at least for my sorority, which I think all the sororities are pretty similar in this sense, you have to fill a certain quota of like sophomore and junior girls in your new class. So like the new group of girls you're gonna take. So let's say you can take up to like 100 girls. It might be like 20% have to be, you know, upperclassmen. Once you meet that, then you can take, you know, as many freshmen as you can fit. But if you don't meet the quota, then you can't take as many freshmen. So in a sense, it is easier for you technically as an upperclassman to rush and get into a house you really like. But as a whole, I wouldn't like wait a year to do it, if that makes sense. I definitely think rushing as a freshman and experiencing all of that as a freshman is a lot more fun. So I also got a couple questions about, is Greek life everything at SDSU? In general, no, it's not. You could do a million other things on this campus, but I do think SDSU is a very Greek life oriented school. I actually just looked it up and it said 15% of students are in Greek life, which I feel like is a lot. I don't know about you. It's not like a super huge number, but I feel like it's a lot of people. I don't know. But again, it's the easiest way to meet people. So if you don't know how to meet people, you're scared to meet people, I would just, Greek life is definitely the easiest way to do that. But again, it's not everything. You could find something else to do. I actually got a question asking, do you have to be blonde? No, you don't have to be blonde to be in a sorority. I thought that was funny. And I had brown hair when I rushed and got into my sorority. So on my video, I actually got a couple questions about there are a lot of drama with so many girls in the house. So I just kind of want to differentiate. Not all the girls in a sorority will live in the sorority house. It's normally only like sophomores and juniors. It's usually about, I think my house had, I want to say like 30 girls living in. I'm not really sure. So as for like drama in the house, from what I heard, there wasn't much, but I don't really know. I didn't live in. As for like all the girls in the sorority having drama, again, there wasn't really any drama. Not every single girl is going to be your best friend. They really advocate that in rushing, that, you know, every single person is your best friend and all of that. Now, while I could have like a genuine like conversation with every single girl, I'm not going to be every single girl's best friend. It's physically impossible for me to be best friends with like almost 200 girls. It's just, especially when you're not all the same age, like it's just, you're not all gonna be best friends, but you all can get along basically. At least in my experience in my house, that's how it kind of was. And then there was also another question about the sorority house, about like all girls living in. Again, not everyone lives in, it's just a certain amount of people. And then I also got one question about if we accept international students, like exchange students. We don't have like some like rule or exception that we can't take you. It just never really happened while I was there, but maybe international students didn't want to do it. I don't really know. So those are the general questions I'm going to be answering. If you have any more, feel free to leave them in the comments, or again, you can DM me on Instagram. But moving into something a little more exciting, parties. Just jumping right in here. There are a lot of parties. If you haven't heard it now, I'll tell you, SDSU is a little bit of a party school. Great school academically, don't get me wrong. It's got some great programs, but there are definitely parties all of the time. Now, if you're looking to get into like a frat party and you are not in a sorority, you are going to have a very hard time. That's just me being honest. At most parties, they have a couple of guys who are in the fraternity. Working door is what they call it, basically like deciding if you're allowed into the party or not. They'll check like your group me, which is basically like a messaging app that you get once you start rushing. So they'll ask to check that and like check what sorority you're in. So even if you are in a sorority, depending on what frat it is, you still might not get in because you might not be like high enough on the rank, which I realize how stupid that sounds, but don't shoot the messenger. That's what happens here. It's stupid and it's sucky, but you know, that's the way it is here. So unless you're really good friends with someone, and someone who's not like a pledge, but someone who's been in the fraternity for at least a little bit, so unless you like are good friends with them, or you know, are friends with someone working the door, then you're gonna have a really hard time getting in if you're not in like a certain sorority, or if you're not in a sorority at all. So now for ranking, probably the sole reason you clicked on this video, I will give you the ranking of like the sorority houses and the fraternity houses. But if you have rushed or you're going to rush, just expect to hear girls say there's no ranking system. It's something, you know, we advocate a lot, or I guess I don't really anymore, but it's something that sororities advocate, that there's no ranking. Everyone hangs out with everyone, they're all equal. There is a ranking system, and as much as I don't think it matters and it shouldn't really be a thing, it is a thing, and it does matter, especially like for parties and like the way certain people will view you as, which, you know, again, is stupid and it sucks, but that's the honest truth. As a whole, for girls, the top like 3 sororities are Alpha Phi, A Chi O, and Pi Phi, and from there it's like G Phi, which is Gamma Phi Beta, DG, which is Delta Gamma, KD. I don't really know the exact order between DG and KD, but I think they're all somewhere in that middle range. There's AGD, Theta, and then DZ is technically seen as the bottom house. Again, it does not mean, you know, you aren't funny and awesome and cool and pretty. That is the way it is here. For fraternities, I'll be honest, I don't know like all 14 or 15 of them, so I'll just give you the ones that I remember off the top of my head. But the top ones are SAE, was Theta Chi, but I think they got kicked off campus this year, so whatever. SAE, Theta Chi, Sig Ep, and then from there it's like Phi Psi, then Pike, then K Sig, then I'll be honest, I don't really remember that many after that, but you know, there's a lot. And something I do want to mention, ranking is a thing, yada yada yada. That doesn't mean you should shoot for the top house, especially if you are rushing a sorority. I feel like so many girls are obsessed with rushing a phi, which is fine. If you genuinely click with the girls in there and you love it, you know, that is great. But you may go to like DG and find that you like those girls even more. And so I feel like the reason we advocate that ranking isn't a thing is because you really want the girls to go with the house that they feel the most comfortable with and they see themselves in it, basically. I know I sound really like sorority rush right now, but this is like my honest opinion. Just go with the girls you click with the most. I've actually had a couple of friends that went with a house they got in because it was a higher ranking, and they kind of just regret doing that. Once you rush and you join a sorority and you're initiated, like you sign documents saying you're a member, and you drop, you can't re-rush. I mean, there are certain like exceptions, I don't really know those, but for the most part, once you're initiated, you can't re-rush. So really just go with your gut from the beginning and you'll be good. So the last thing I'm going to be talking about is more focused on frats and like sororities together, basically. So because, you know, there is a ranking system, certain fraternities hang out with certain sororities, so just because you are in a sorority doesn't necessarily mean you will like hang out with like other fraternities. I'm trying not to sound super pretentious and bitchy here, but like this is how it is. So once you join a sorority, most weeks you'll have things called exchanges, which means you will go over to a fraternity, either a satellite, which is like an off-campus house with most members being in a single fraternity, or like their chapter house, which is like their actual fraternity house where they have like big themed parties and meetings and stuff like that. So you'll go to either, you know, like their chapter house or a satellite house, and you can either have like an exchange, which is a party like strictly between like your sorority and your fraternity. Most often it'll be like the newest classes, like the first like hour, and then everyone else can come. Or you can have like pre-party, which if like a fraternity is having a big party one night, like a Halloween party, and you have a pre-party with them, you know, only you are there like the first hour, and then everyone else is let in. So with that, only certain fraternities hang out with like certain sororities. So my sorority would never have exchanges with Fiji, which is, going by the ranking system, like a lower fraternity. I'm not calling them a low fraternity. If you're looking strictly at the ranking, that's how it is. But basically for sororities, you will have certain fraternities that you go to exchanges with, you go to pre-parties with, things like that. That doesn't mean you can't have friends in like higher or lower fraternities, because a lot of sororities do have date parties, or at SDSU we call it date dash, where you can take a date. It could be a brother, it could be a roommate, it could be a girl, it could be a boy, it could be whoever. I think there is an age limit, I don't really know, but for the most part you could take anyone. And there's also like formal, you could again also take anyone. And then most sororities also have something called pref, basically just like homecoming but with a certain sorority and fraternity only. For my sorority, we had like a rotation of like 3 or 4 fraternities we would like switch off with each semester. But yeah, so that's kind of the whole fraternity sorority mix situation. That is kind of everything I wanted to go over. Again, I don't agree with like all the stuff that happens in Greek life. If you do have any more questions, leave in the comments, DM me. Be sure to check out my rushing video if you are looking on rushing. I don't even know if they're rushing this year in the fall. I know freshmen are moving in, but I don't really know like about rushing. I'm not in Greek life anymore, so I'm not updated on that information. But if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe down below. Be sure to turn on the little bell icon so you get notified every time I upload. And I'll see you guys next time.